Hmm. Yeah, and as you say, nouns with the eyes everywhere. It's ever so slightly easier to do for some scouting when your manager is casting some of the games. Shout out to Neff, but well, anybody can watch the games, I suppose. So not a huge advantage, but they have it kind of built in on the noun side as we see those back-to-back picks. It is yet another Jakiro, so more love to that versatile position 5, but then they follow it up, with the Chaos Knight. So they see the TA on the other side. They acknowledge that's a lot of damage coming out, so they get some pretty beefy boys on the front line, right? Beastmaster and CK, not going to be easy to bring down.
Yeah, and of course, CK, the most probably the most robust illusion carry you could ask for, but again, TA hates playing versus those illusions. It's just super simple. CK might run into some armor troubles if Parker is really just running away with the game. That's the one aspect that TA can always play and exist in. But that's also where I would absolutely love if we see Husky just trail this TA around the map. Just do a repeat performance that when we saw Excel pick up the Jakiro versus TA, doesn't matter position, just run at the TA, just spam him with dual breath, make the TA's life as sad as possible, try to slow down Parker as much as you can. That's what I would love to see from Nouns, and we'll have to see, because Infinity, they say Tide Hunter it is, and they triple down on their team fight. And they've got some pretty terrifying team fight spells, but that's where, I mean, they've got so much beef right now, but I don't know. Very odd draft. It feels like they've got those big spells, but when it comes to starting those casual team fights that you're going to need to do in between the Solar Guardian and those Ravages, it's all coming from Primal Beast. It's
Mm-hmm.
where Nouns just need to shut down one hero, and then the plays from Infinity just stall out pretty much immediately. Nouns have way more to play for right now, just with simple Dota. Everybody has an item timing. You might have to wait a little bit for that tiny blink dagger, but just feels like Nouns can create plays way more easy than Infinity.
Yeah, and if you're Infinity, okay, there's a position here where maybe you could look at someone to be supplemental damage so that it's not all on the TA. But then you could also pick up maybe a position 4 hero to have a little bit more initiation outside of those massive cooldowns. So the problem is they put themselves in a position ET where no matter what they do, something will be lacking with this lineup. It's just a matter of which deficiency they think they can overcome, well, the most easily.
And now continuing to ban out these heroes, and the Pango ban finally lands, which again, I thought that Nouns would want him from themselves, but they probably are going to look for something a little bit easier for Gunner to play on his side of the river, just a nice draw hero. I would love if this is all just set up for a Gunner Invoker at the tail end of the draft here. That would make me so happy because it's exactly what they want. They want a ranged hero on the other side of the high ground who's going to provide maybe a little bit more control for the matchup so far, and then just doesn't lose. And I think really that hero fits the bill. But they say it's going to be tiny mid, and we're banning out 4 positions here. I don't know if Infinity are hitting on the money. I thought the Rubik ban was smart, maybe saying that it's going to be Gunner Rubik just because Infinity have some great spells to steal right now. But I don't know if this Grimstroke ban is really sitting well with me.
Yeah, now that Invoker pick looks pretty wide open, right? You've got the lockdown, you've got the disruption. That's not an Invoker. Wow. That
But
is
I'm
a
happy.
that is a dirty Viper pick. That's something.
Yep, and classic counter versus the TA. It's where we see the direct lane, and we'll have to see because now is it going to be Beastmaster mid? Is it going to be a tiny Viper lane versus the TA? In which case Parker is going to be complaining because he's got what, a Dawnbreaker or a Primal Beast to try and slow it down, and
Yeah.
certainly the new heroes are going to try, but that's where Viper, it is dirty. It's the direct counter. It's why usually, even though the hero is wholeheartedly unpopular, bad even, some would say, it's not fun to play, but you get the respect band because in CM, you kind of have to. And now, Infinity, I feel like the best thing they could go for is simply just picking up Nature's Prophet, just so that way they can keep that lane swap going and then eventually come out ahead. And we'll have to see if they listen to me because it's not an ideal pick, but it's something.
Hmm.
And they go for the Wind, which is a classic counter in the mid matchup versus Viper. And we'll have to see what they pick up here for nouns and which players slot into what. But I don't know if this is a Viper mid, guys, and it ain't. Uh, an interesting
Hmm.
grab.
Well, yeah, this is a little bit unexpected. So, I mean, the CK is going to be the one for nouns. We had that part down, but They will send the Beastmaster mid. They put Moo on the Viper in the off lane, so... Well, now you've picked up a core Wind Ranger to deal with a Beastmaster lane, which... Okay, you know, maybe that works for Leo style farm-wise, I guess, but it's not quite the sort of gotcha, aha kind of play that I think they were anticipating it would be.
Yeah, and well, now Infinity, let's say they aren't doing that, and now Parker's going to take the TA mid versus the Beastmaster now and start to move. And then Infinity will have to start to move. This is where I think those musical lanes are going to transpire because you absolutely just don't want to allow that to happen. And nouns have no reason to allow you to sit there and let that happen. As well as, well, then Wheel Style, what, turns into your safe lane sharing XP Wind? It's where Wind just isn't a good enough hero, I think, to make playing at a level deficit okay. So I think that's where Infinity, again, it's a nifty idea, but I wonder if this is the counter that they're really hoping for. And it is funny also to see nouns with first pick just somehow getting the undeniable best counter pick versus Infinity. I mean, it's just good stuff and shows that nouns are here to play. They're here to win. We are paused, but I'm excited. I'm incredibly excited.
I just want to see who's going where at this point, and I do want to point out something real quick here in terms of the personnel on the side of Infinity. Some of you might have been looking at that draft screen. There might be some names you don't recognize. As far as we are aware, this is still Infinity's normal lineup. So for the TA, playing under the name Jim Park, that should still be Parker. We've got Devil over here, who I do believe is still Frank. So if that is not the case, we'll get that update to you as quickly as possible, but it should just be everybody that we've been used to seeing from the Infinity side.
Yeah, and then we'll get the RCs going, and then looks like we're gonna get started pretty much immediately after. But yeah, slight tag ups, you know. I mean, we've already seen the the SA players with quite a few different accounts coming into this tournament so far. Even though, of course, in captain's mode, you know, smurfing doesn't help you all too much. But they're not smurfing for an advantage. They're just probably playing, and then they're like, "Oh, it's best of 3 time to go. I guess we're just gonna play on these accounts."
Yeah, we had the confusion, what, yesterday with K1 slash Argius, who, you know, was still K1, apparently just playing on, you know, another account, which, I don't know, ET. We're not here to get into the alt account slash Smurf debate. That's for the Reddit threads. We'll just leave it alone for now and just take our word for it that people are who we say they are.
Yeah, and here we go. Smoke on smoke. Deep mid ward doesn't pop either, so not going to get any vision, but high ground ward is placed for Infinity, and looks like things are going to simmer down here. This is a situation where Infinity want to start a level 1 fight, even though nouns have pretty terrifying level 1, just because if you can get that Viper to burn some of his mana, then Moo will be more pressed and have to invest more in those mangoes that really you don't want to be forced into buying all too many, but that's the Viper nerf. That's where poison attack being 24 points of mana at every level, it just hurts. It's why this hero is so unpopular.
Yeah, can't really just afford to spam that out. Now you gotta actually do some math, manage your mana. You know, like a normal hero. The Viper doesn't get to just kind of have that little cheat code here. As Yamsun running into a couple. Not going to take any damage, but also doesn't want to go marching into a 1v2, so they'll give up the rune, but it's just a 2-for-2 trade-off. We've come to expect the even split unless there's particular funny business, but nothing this time. We'll settle into the lanes, and we'll keep an eye up top, BT, because as of right now, all three up here, both the supports have moved over, and, well, I guess you can still kind of get the initiation with the Dawnbreaker not being level 2 if it's the Primal Beast charging in to start it instead, but still feels like a kind of tough play to make, but they're going to give it a go. They get the slow, they get the charge. Do they go for the Starbreaker? No, they picked up the hammer first, so they will have a little bit of extra damage, and Yamsun, can he survive with the stick charges? And also the Tango going out for him. He's not dead just yet, but they're trying to cut him off. Get it. So the tri-lane strikes, and well, nouns just weren't ready for that one. 3 heroes directly onto the CK. Husky wasn't quite in position to do the most he could to sort of run interference, so Infinity get first blood.
Yeah, just very nicely well played. A little bit of a tick up for Frank. And also, I noticed this. This is the first time I've seen Prada as Prada. He's not Chicked. That's great. This is the first time, I think, in a long, long time that he hasn't been tagged up as that previous alias. And also, pretty smart. They keep this tri lane up here with both heroes showing in lane. So this large camp pull is pretty much just completely caught off guard. And now Yamson's lane is in an absolutely awful position. But it also feels like they're just straight up trialing. They're just saying, Leo style, deal with the Viper. Okay, this is why we picked you this hero. And surprisingly for me, nouns aren't doing anything about it. And even though I think the travel from mid to bottom is probably short enough that they could make that trip, they're very stubbornly staying in these laning situations.
And that leaves Gunnar to play up mid against Parker's Templar Assassin, which that could present a little bit more of an issue. The side blade spill onto Gunnar is something he'll at least have to be wary of. Maybe not afraid of, but just got to manage your health that little bit more. So, yeah, very interesting to see that nouns aren't making any changes, but I guess they just assumed the tri-lane would eventually break up. The problem is it breaks up right into the kill on Moo as Prada gets in there and honestly didn't do a whole lot. Gets in with the hammer, gets the body blocks, and Leo Style handles a lot of the rest.
Yeah, just right click, just harass really is pretty much it. And does have to be a little bit cautious when it comes to this tossback play, but that's also where Lelis moved his timing down a little bit further. It's where, unfortunately, getting the Truth Throw level 1 means that you have to make a pretty difficult decision at level 2, and going for the toss, he just doesn't have the Ava. And even right now, he's one creep away from getting level 3 and just doesn't have it. At least that fight will simmer down. Leo Style can't connect, and he will snipe out the bounty run on the way. He's running away from Prada. Though Prada might just pop both mangoes and try for the kill still. Because Prada's crazy.
He's got to wait for the hammer to come off cooldown. He's going to give it a go. There's going to be the jump. Does he get the Starbreaker? Yes, no, he doesn't, because the toss cancels it. And Prada's eventually going to have to sort of peel off here, but I mean, he has entirely taken the Tiny out of this lane, leaving Leo Style and Moo really to just sit here in the 1v1.
And a 1v1 that we already have said time and time again that favors the wind. At least Moo's lane is incredibly far up, which kind of moves past any funny business that Leo Style could work for. And Moo, you're
Next gonna charge.
Yeah.
Only level 2, but hey, that's all you need. Charge in, trample up, Gunner. The downside of the switch here, right? You put the Beastmaster mid, there's no movement. There is zero mobility on the Beastmaster, so Rio start for Infinity. Their rotations, their tri-lane choice, so far it's all working out in their favor.
Yeah, and then you leave Frank alone, but Frank is a Tide Hunter. He doesn't care. He isn't even on gotten to the tanky part of Tide yet, where you get level 4 and then you can't really die unless they've got just way too much magic damage. But I'm still kind of awestruck here that nouns are just letting this waning stage go the way it has. And sure, they are getting levels, they're getting XP, but I think, at least effectively right now, they're losing every single lane.
Oh,
Might change bottom, but yeah.
Shackle connects. That's a good avalanche from Lelis. Just trying to create something. Maybe the DOT. Yeah, the DOT gets the job done, but Leo Style got the kill onto Moo first. So overall, the trade still going to look pretty good for Infinity. It's not a shutout anymore as Nouns get their first one on the board, but this is not the start that they were really looking for.
No, and I worry what this opens up because, well, one of the reasons why TA feels so great is, well, Parker's even closer to his triangle now, being in a mid lane position instead, where even when he plays the carry, he eventually takes over mid. It just comes a little bit later, but
they're gonna
he's
bully
right
it
at home.
again.
And Moo, oh no, he needs the Tiny, and the Tiny will connect. And what a power shot that was, but the trample.
They still have the damage. Genic is gonna go down though, so again, Nouns don't come away empty-handed, but
could be worse. Oh wait, no, it couldn't.
yeah, that about sums it up. Not really sure it can get much worse for Moo at this point, and ET between Moo so far in this game and Devi in the previous one, that particular spot there, right? It's not a fun place to be. If you are the brown player here, you're not having a fun time apparently.
Yeah, just not fun. Just too easy to gank, I think, and not getting that vision control back just yet. At least it's Mu dying inside of Gunner. And Gunner has Primal Roar. He's got more damage to play around with. Still needs his HOD before he can really put too much aggression onto anybody else. But, you know, he'll eventually get it. And then maybe we see that mid tower take a little bit more damage. But I just worry with how many draws have come out. I think Infinity, who definitely had weaker lanes, are just kind of getting away with it with their phenomenal early game. And now 3 heroes are set up towards bottom with the Hawk as well, so they've got pretty much all confidence here. And that is a crazy focus fire, but again, Win runs away, can't connect. Mu is just so slow on that Viper.
It's not able to catch up. Leo Style walks away. Mu gets a little bit of time to farm, I suppose, so if you're looking for some sort of benefit there, that has gotten Leo Style off his back a little bit, but at this point it feels like having to bring 2 heroes over for that is still not the most efficient play in the world, but they're going to look to make something happen. Gennett gets taken down at the top lane, now back down bot. Prada should die to some DOT here. Is that enough to tick him down? No, it is not. About 80 HP remaining, so... well, one of the supports will live. Unless they go in again, but I don't really know if they want to do that. But hey, at least Yamson was able to find a solo kill. That's got to count for something, but now Gennett spawns, TP's bot, runs right into Lelis, which is not a place that Tiny wants to be. Stuck in a 1v3 under his opponent's tower, he will be punished, and that sort of sneaky wraparound play really does not go the way he was hoping.
Yeah, just not pretty. Not easy. Goes down. I hope he doesn't finish. I really hope he just greeds out for the Blink Dagger at this point on Tiny. I think it's already looking like a long path before he's going to have the Blink Dagger, even though it's going to be so important this game. It's also where I think Infinity, level-wise, once these supports, once this Tide gets level 6, the game changes for you. It's where I think, again, these early levels matter so much, but what a hop. Ooh.
Tumbler's Toy. Very good neutral item, but hops over the ice path, just walks away and keeps farming. Meanwhile, up top, yeah, Frank just going to hold his own. Right, as you said, he is just too tough to bring down. He's got the Ravage now, so... does he want to move? I mean, his farm in this lane is pretty damn good. He's like 150 gold behind the CK, so... unless his team desperately needs him, maybe he just stays here and farms more.
No, they can 100% be happy with what's going on right now. Mu is maybe getting a little bit too much with XP right now, and that's also where Infinity cannot really fix that bottom lane any further. They can only really respond to dives at this point. It's where the Tide's TP and the Solar Guardian is going to be incredibly important. That's why Prada's taken over the mid lane, but that's also one of the drawbacks of your mid-Templar Assassin. Parker's not helping anybody. He's not helping you. He's going to be farming. He's going to farm these neutrals. He's going to be incredibly high level because he's just getting the Ancients a little bit sooner. But that's where Infinity can't make too many plays bottom too far up in the lane. Otherwise, they will start to throw away some of that advantage. And again, they're just waiting for their level 6s. They want the Tome. They want those ultimates. And then they'll probably take another stab at nouns.
Some chip damage onto the tier 1. Meanwhile, Gennett is going to charge in. There's the trample. They get the shackle shot down as well, so Husky cannot go anywhere. And they're going to be able to find the kill, and they might look for a little bit more. Over in the middle lane, too, yeah. They push in onto Lelis. They take both of the supports down, and Gunner actually committed Primal Roar there for really no turnaround. That's 2 support kills, and one of Noun's best ults in terms of actually initiating fights that are all taken away.
Yeah, and now every single time that roar gets used, we're just stuck waiting. It's where, unfortunately, nouns are more or less gold bound when it comes to their lineup. They need items before they can fight, and Infinity are not. They're level bound. They are going to have their levels in a few moments here as well. They're going to hit their first big power spike. It's where I'm terrified once the Tidehunter actually starts to move around onto the map, because any fight that he partakes in right now is just going to be a wash. He is just preparing himself to become unkillable, and then he's going to look to make his move. It's where I would love to see Frank go for maybe a slightly earlier Blink Dagger as opposed to some of that utility, but even if he gets items like Vlad's or Lotus beforehand, he's just under no pressure, even though I feel like maybe it's going to become time to try at least something versus him. And of course, you are playing versus a Viper, so you get broken, you still can very easily die, and that's what they're doing. They're going to try to get the Viper there in time. Let's see it.
There it is. Tossback is in. They got the break. They pop the Phantasm too, and there's the Ravage. Genic now looking to charge his way in. Reality Rift, though, actually kind of gets Yamsun past that charge and will allow them not only to find that first kill, but maybe find another. Is there any spell? Not in time. Ava had a second left, and the Chaos Bolt doesn't connect, but they get onto Frank. That's the most important aspect here, and ooh, what's going on in the river? That's going to be the roar into the Macro Pyre on to Parker. Can he somehow get away? He pops a full wand, but I don't think that's going to be enough. They'll still bring him down. And Nouns, it took him a little while, ET, but we're starting to see a little bit more from them in terms of their ability to actually find these return kills.
Yep, and of course, kills equals gold, equals getting the important items, and of course, that's just Todd getting picked up. Unfortunately for Gunner, though, any push he is going to attempt is going to be met with that Tide, but Tide without Ravage isn't much of a Tide hunter. He's just the body to nuke out the creep waves and take farm away from somebody else. It's where Infinity still need to find some of that balance and probably need to surge around Leo style, if anyone, now that he has a little bit more damage to play with, has a full Javelin. It's where we might start to see that tower trade already come true for both these teams.
Certainly appears to be the call here for no runes. Or, wow,
Ooh,
I'm reading the tags. Infinity, not no runes. Classic caster mistake. Don't read the team tags. Genic, does he really want to do this? Yes, he does. He's going to charge in. He's got the Pulverize. Believe he got hit up by Viper Strike beforehand, but that well and truly does not matter. Walks it off. Should be just fine. The question is, can they go for Gunner as well? He's looking for the TP home, and they already used all their lockdown.
Yeah, really smart TP from him, but, you know, I think in that situation, you got Primal Beast, you know, beasted if you're Moo. You showed on the map with 700 HP, you know, shame on you, you know, you should have been higher health, you know, but at least with Gunner also showing up top, they give the lane mid towards your Tiny, and Yamsun's able to make the tower trade happen bottom, so just really, both sides want this laning stage over with as fast as possible. We're just looking for that farm. The farm that I am still extremely concerned with, because Parker is looking for an incredibly early Deso, and then that's where Infinity will force you to fight them around the pit with Ravage, with all of their ultimate abilities, where I don't think Nouns is going to have those blinks, those Helm of the Overlords, that same counterplay, but it's where Infinity can't really afford to get off the boat now. They have to continue to play incredibly quickly, and no rune spawns top, so this smoke is not going to become anything. Very unfortunate. If that DD spawned there, then they might have had a plan to Parker.
Yep. The DD does get picked up by Frank, which is not the most efficient, but it does allow them to inadvertently dodge the setup, so well, a little bit of good fortune for the Infinity side, but now, well, now what do they look for? Because Nouns are starting to kind of push onto their side of the map a little bit. They do have all of their abilities up and running, but I don't know. Maelstrom's almost done. Deso's almost done. It would make sense for Infinity to maybe just hold a little while longer and then push in once those big items are finished.
Look mid, huge TP rotations. They want to get that Viper probably back onto his side lane so he can boot to travel back towards mid, but I'm amazed that Moo feels like he could have gone for these travels, but getting away with it for now, so can't harp on him just yet.
Yeah, nobody's really punishing him too significantly, and he's still ahead of Leo style, so you know, holding the coveted position of not last, at least among the core heroes, so let's see what he can do here. He's made his way bot, but Genic is gonna potentially scout him. Between him and Leo style, theoretically, you know, they do have the damage, might need the Pulverize to come help out, but now they see that Lelis is here too, and yeah, that's going to be maybe a little bit too hard for them to try.
Yeah, Weezy gets the Nether Toxin onto the wave, pushes in, and he's safe. But that's Deso done. Parker is now going to force you into a team fight, and again, they're still vying for bottom. They don't know about Genic, though. And, well, this is going to get really awkward, and that's the setup.
Solar Guardian is in, the Pulverize is there, Moo is taken down right away, and you see Gunner making his way over. Will they be able to do anything here? Gunner's in, Husky's coming too. They actually have to catch somebody. They don't want product. They don't have much of a choice. Gunner just goes for the easier kill. His supports did continue to chase, though, and Leo Style with no TP doesn't really have a way out unless he can just run literally faster than everyone else, and as of right now, that is kind of working.
Yeah, and he's on the lam, but he should be able to make this escape, and will run right underneath all of this Noun's vision, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, weren't able to connect on anyone during all of that. Well, Parker says, hey, 4 heroes bottom? Frank, let's go Roche. And Roche it is, and first stage is for Parker.
About as easy as it gets. You've got the big old watermelon in front of you to tank all the damage, you've got the armor reduction, and you had a hell of a distraction. So, free Aegis. Maelstrom, meanwhile, finished off by Leo Style 2, so the damage is starting to tick up more and more for this Infinity side. I think maybe the important thing, as weird as that fight got down in the bottom lane, I mean, what did you use? A Solar Guardian that's only 40 seconds away? Ravage was not used. You've got Pulverize back already, so they can immediately try to make use of their extra damage and their Aegis. That's exactly what they're doing. Trying to push in here. Genic gets the Pulverize down onto the Tiny. Not enough for the kill just yet, though, and actually with the pullback from Yamsun, Genic wasn't able to get the final right click in. Leo Style, this is a very greedy decision. Will it work out for him? For now, no. Lelis? Well, if you walk directly into power shot at point blank range, you are going to go down. So Leo Style finds the kill. Now he can wind run away and should TP home.
Is Husky hit? Oh, it's a nice try, but
Oh, wait, no, I couldn't.
a little bit too hard. He gets away with it again. Crazy stuff.
He lost his courier on the back end there, but that's not really much of a loss for him. But Infinity are starting to look pretty good, but I don't know. We've seen some moments from Nouns, right, where we see their strength on display, and now that strength takes a step forward with the Helm of the Overlord finished off. So Gunner grabs himself a Thunderhide, and well, I guess we're still just waiting to see Nouns on the offensive, right? It feels like a lot of their plays have been reactionary as opposed to them looking for anything themselves, as Lelis is going to get himself picked up in the top lane. Moo may be in trouble as well. Yeah, he is absolutely in trouble, just trying to hold the tower, but it's all 5.
Yeah, and now, well, it's the same build from Parker that we saw in group stage. He has an Ags already, disassembles his own lance, and we'll have to buy that back, but your tier 2's getting chopped off here. If they get the Tide in front of mid lane, this tower push is going to still get forced through, but will get defended. Still might lose the tower, but gotta run.
Ravage, Solar Guardian, charge in, Pulverize, not for 3 seconds, but they won't need it. Yamsun cannot toggle his way out of that one, and boy, ET, you want to know whether or not Infinity came ready to play today. 0 misses from them so far, and might be looking for a little bit more. Husky's got a TP. He could just try it right now, but you see him trying to stick around in case Gunner wanted to go back in. There just isn't much of a play to try, although okay. Moo gets 1. Prada gets taken down in the middle lane. Not a bad choice, but what's going on here? That's the power of the Aghanim Scepter. Parker's just up in the top lane in the blink of an eye, and Tiny gets shut down again, just short of his blink dagger.
Yeah, and then, unfortunately for Yamsun, the big loser of that previous team fight, had his BKB in his inventory in the base, but they just push the issue a little bit too hard. He had his BKB, he wouldn't have died there. That's where this next stage of the game is going to be how we counter Ravage for Nouns, and BKB is the name of the game here, but it's where I think the cores are just not finding that synergistic power spike. Blink's going to be done on the Tiny really quick here. Lelis will finally have it, and then we'll have another playmaker to go in front of that Beastmaster and that Primal Roar. But it's also where Gunner is already looking at that gem as well, where they also need to get some of that control back away from the TA. This top lane cannot afford to be polka dotted. There can't be TA traps everywhere. It's where this TA turns into an 1100 GPM monster that just has no reason to stop. Even though you waited through this first Aegis, well, it's the next set of items that Parker is already looking for.
In the meantime, Leo Style made an attempt onto Gunner there, but doesn't really have the damage for that. And Now that they realize Leo Styles hanging out bot, that means Prada is alone in the middle lane, and Yamsun's going to be able to get himself a bit of a kill. Not the craziest amount of value there, but they find a pick. They have a man advantage. They've got 20 seconds of no Solar Guardian, and they're going to try to take advantage of it. Smoke up, move south. Genek, unfortunately, is going to DC here, so we will have to wait while he reconnects, and we'll see if this Noun smoke
Oh, wait,
can
no, I
get
couldn't.
them on to the Wind Ranger in time. If it does, well, they should have enough damage, right? As long as he doesn't get the Wind Run off before any stun connects, they should be able to take him down.
Yeah, and this is a quite unfortunate timing for Leo Style and might delay his reaction or his level of fear in the situation because he'll just be dead if if he waits around for maybe a hair longer. But it's funny, he is still on the run in this bottom area where he's tried to juke and jive for the past 5 minutes or so in evade nouns, but we'll see. Maybe this time around it will connect. There isn't a Blink Dagger on Lelis just yet. His courier is actually on the way, and then that play gets a whole lot easier. But he's going to meet it right now, so we'll have to see if the rest of the lineup is enough to hold down that wind, because that's certainly the ideal pick they're looking for.
We'll have to see, because there's still a possibility here that Gennett could just maybe step in front of this, right? Tank the gank for his core and just kind of offer himself up. So it's not going to be an easy play for Nouns to make, but they're already committed, right? They've smoked up with 3 or 4 heroes, so gotta give it a go. But Gennett is still not back in yet. A little bit concerning, but this is really the first time that we've had a pause of more than maybe 10 seconds. We do have those pauses at the start, ET, but those never really last that long.
Yeah, just Genic struggling. Not too many reasons either given, just probably a crash PC, hopefully not an out router, otherwise we're gonna be here for a
I
bit,
never
but,
predicted this.
fingers
Wait,
crossed.
me.
And he's looking for a BKB, so this Primal Beast game is only getting started. I think sooner than later, though, we'll probably get a admin message saying that
Easy breezy.
time is a ticking here for Infinity.
Yeah, we'll have Badger coming in and asking some questions in just a little bit if this reconnect doesn't come through, but yeah, as you say, BKB, he is pretty damn close to it as well. And honestly, if you're the Primal, there are plenty of items that you would like to have, right? Luxury items are called that for a reason. But once the BKB is picked up, he is going to be able to do what they need him to pretty much every time. So we talk about it a little bit with the Marcy as well. Maybe not as much anymore because she's kind of been nerfed a little bit, but once you have Boots BKB, you do 90% of what the team will ask you to do.
Yeah, it's pretty darn easy, pretty darn simple. And then, maybe he just gets roared, but I think there are bigger targets to roar in this game. But again, we will see. I'm so upset that Nouns didn't rotate the Viper. No, but we're not gonna talk about it. But
Well, that's what they deserve. They picked the Viper. So, in the meantime, well, let's take a look at the other itemizations here for the Beastmaster. Well, he already got the Helm of the Overlord. As you mentioned earlier, looking for that gem just to take some of the traps away. But for Yamsun, taking a look at what he's building here, he's got himself an armlet, he's got a BKB, but the itemization beyond that point has gone in multiple different directions looking at his quick buy. First up, rebuilding the Echo Saber, probably not a bad idea, but between the Blink and I guess maybe a Bloodthorn, Mage Slayer kind of build here, which of those two do you think that he should focus on? Does he need the mobility or does he need the damage?
I think the mobility would do him so good, as it typically does serve. I think the CK lineups where if they greed out too far, if they look for the Shadow Blade just as a full replacement for the Blink Dagger, usually they end up coming up short. I've seen too many situations where you just have as many initiators as possible. It's as simple as that. Even though this game is really quite close, even though we are still waiting for Genic here, but looking at the gold lead and the net worth, really all of it is just the TA. You equate the TA, put them on equal footing as your CK, then there's basically no space in between, and you can see it reflected with the other cores. Everybody is basically neck and neck, just a matter of whether I think Parker can use that net worth advantage as much as he can. He just finished a pike. He had had a few more clowny items queued up before the pause came through, but now he's simply just getting a BKB, which I wholeheartedly agree with. He had like Lincoln's Agi Blink queued up before, which might be in the future, but I think simply getting as many BKBs as possible is also quite the
I don't think
winning
so.
recipe, as we've already seen so many teams just go for exactly that, and it just works. It's also where I think maybe a halberd down the line for any of Nouns' heroes would probably get quite the value out of it. Really, the only one with a fairly interesting
They
item build
listen
coming
for
from
him.
Nouns is
He's
probably
never
Moo,
tried.
who is trying the eggs on Viper, the the cool one that is still very unproven in Dota as a whole.
It does provide the disarm, I guess. Right? I mean, if you hit with it, obviously. So he's not going for the halberd just yet, but maybe if he gets the Ags and a halberd, double disarm basically guarantees that one of them will connect. But yeah, I think that's the biggest point. As you said, it's unproven. It's kind of up in the air in terms of whether it's effective in the slightest. So we will have to see. As Genic has reconnected, we'll get back underway, and ETM also realizing I am very not smart. I said Bloodthorn. This is a Silver Edge that he's gotten the quick buy for Yamsun, so I don't know what I was thinking, but either way, still a damage item, but not quite the same type of offensive itemization there.
Yeah, you're just getting the grief by the Oblivion staff, you know,
Yep.
the old ways. Too many changes too quickly. But with that being said, nobody dies bottom. Everybody immediately becomes defensive after the pause. The Aegis gets reclaimed, and we're in a very different game.
Oh,
But
he
yeah,
missed.
Prada, Force Staff. Oh, this is getting too deep, and yeah, the TP's coming through.
Yeah, Husky's gonna have to be sacrificed here. He'll try and get what damage he can, but he's still gonna get taken down. But look at Genic. Charges in. Gets off the Pulverize. Lelis is gonna make him work for it, though. The Avalanche buys him enough time for the Blink. Parker trying to slow him down. That was a very short duration trap, though, but it's gonna do the job.
Yep, just a little bit too quick. And now it's probably time to clean up this bottom lane of towers, and they're tracing down that Thunderhide, and oh, it's certainly worth the effort. 250 gold into Parker's back pocket. He doesn't need it, but he'll take it the Parker way. But can only imagine that after Parker makes his rounds farming the entire top jungle, that we do see them get onto this bottom objective. Just feels right. And you have all your ultimates, and actually top, they're trying to set up on Namu with the Solar Guardian. The Axe came out, but he is still very dead, and now waiting for the Sonic projection. Has it, 1.5, and he's out. You are going to lose Prada, but got what you wanted.
So they immediately punish Moo. They only have to sacrifice a support, and well, I mean, Nosedive could be useful, but not when you're just completely caught in the 1v2 like that. So we'll give Moo, you know, another attempt at it, maybe under better circumstances. But hey, the Ags is completed. Now we'll see where he's looking to go beyond that. That is a Hurricane Pike that he's queuing up. So looking maybe just for a little bit more opportunities to do damage as opposed to any further utility or lockdown. Never mind, he switches it to a BKB.
Yeah, I think BKB or armor or force staff, all are good items, but just a situation where I think once the Ag Shard is up from the TA, he's just going to be a dead hero on the lane if he tries to play in the same fashion that he has. It's where Parker hasn't even had to become crafty yet with these kills. You're just simply pushing out, running down. It died in the exact same fashion that Lelis died, you know, not 5 minutes ago. But that's where Roche, 40 seconds, we'll get our answer here, and we'll see if Nouns are forced into a slightly more awkward position, because currently Infinity are just scaling exactly what they need to do. Kind of an unfortunate double smoke from Nouns, but they're trying to get all of these BKBs before that next big team fight comes through. And while they're looking for the offlane gang top, they don't want to find Genic, though. Unless the CK starts, they won't be able to pin him down, but they're looking over at the Tide, who has a Blink Dagger, and they're going to narrowly escape this smoke in its entirety. Nobody hits, and then the rest of the map gets farmed, as Infinity are always prepared to do so.
They just clear out, farm up. BKB just finished off by Genic, so the Primal Beast is going to be hard to deal with. And as we said back during the pause, sure, he can still be roared, right? He can still get hit up by Gunner, but if Gunner has to use Roar onto the Primal Beast, Well, Parker's gonna just run in there. Leo Styles just gonna run in. They're gonna do all their damage, knowing there's very little lockdown for them. So, yeah, not a great decision. Gotta either try and kite out the Primal Beast or waste one of your biggest spells to lock him down.
And four-man smoke, getting aggressive, going in front of the TA, but this is also her timing. BKB, and he's in! He found Husky! Oh, Husky!
Ice Path does come through before he dies, so they do have some stun here, but is there going to be enough damage? The Ravage is going to come through. Yamsun already activated the BKB, so he is going to continue to attack. No, he's not. He's bailing out. Uses what's left of his BKB to TP home, but that leaves the rest of the lineup dead to rights in the middle of all of this. Lelis, Moo, and Gunner all go down. Roshan not cooperating. Nearly 2 minutes on the timer, but if you're Infinity, you take a pretty definitive amount of control here, and yes, you did blow some rather large cooldowns, but Nouns will have to wait for the respawns before they can even think to regroup, so they have created a lot of space.
Oh, and look for a bottom. Yamsun, he knows, and paced out. He's really trying to kite this. Dodges, yep, beautifully executed. Oh my god, Parker.
This is why you don't let him play TA. The man has it down to a science. The build, the movements, everything. Just so mechanically skilled on this hero, and I mean, Yamsun just gets outplayed.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, it looked like a crazy go from Parker, and he let himself get stunned. He got roared, he sat there, but they dropped the chain stun for just a second, and there was also a pretty enormous Tide Hunter just sitting on top of everybody in that last team fight, but it's unfortunate that that's the way they start off the team fight after being unable to connect with any smokes for the past 5 minutes. And Genic, well, toss back, gonna have the BKB, charges away, still has the gem, doesn't want to lose it, so he will go all the way back. But that's the other thing, lost your gem. Nouns now need to buy back one, and what I think is going to be another 4 minutes before they can get any of that control, which means that Parker has free range and free money control over Husky, whose wallet is really getting pressed to the limits here with these sentries.
He's doing everything that he can. No Philosopher's Stone to sort of ease that burden for him as well, so not a fun time for this support duo, but just gonna have to play it as best as they can. Try to maintain what vision possible and work from there. That sentry, actually both sentries, will miss this one on the high ground, so that's a little bit unfortunate for them, but I don't know. It's a sentry, not an ob, so Infinity really don't see too much there, but Prada, he's trying to set up around the pit. Roche has respawned. The problem is Lelis faster on the draw. They're going to be able to take him down. Genic, yeah, you don't actually want to do that. Thought about it for a moment, cancels his charge, and they will back away, but that means Nouns, for now, have control of the pit.
Now, both teams very aware, scouting out. They do have buyback on Prada, worst case scenario, but that's also where the bottom lane is constantly pushed in. Parker is making this split push hurt, and they're pinging it out, and okay, Parker found all the neutrals. Gets an enchanted quiver now, so that one shot is getting more and more likely, and you have to back up. Even though you have the control, you've got the high ground vision, Infinity are even circling, like Nouns have that ward placed already. They're just waiting now. And it is interesting that Nouns don't place that ward just yet, but they also know that, hey, if there's a ward up there, well, our opponents are going to try to kill it, so let's wait till the fight breaks out, and here's the fight.
Oh, they get the sundown onto Frank first, though. They'll hit him up with the roar, but that just means now they're free to go in. The roar's not available. The Ravage comes through, and Nouns are just going to get beat up. Husky and Moo already dead. Lelis will fall as well. Control of the pit is lost.
Could be worse.
And Infinity, I mean,
No, it couldn't.
they know. They know how to approach this, even with what looked like a disadvantage pushing onto the high ground. They have the utmost confidence in their own teamfight ability. As long as no one dies before they get their spells off, they know they can win it.
Yeah, and now gets the Ag Shard, gets the Aegis. Parker's just happy as a clam. He buys an Ag Synth as well that gets delivered on the courier, so now he's got
And
a
then
full
he
slot.
found
And Gunner! Oh, boy. It's a waterfall. It's just everything. Parker's just had his way with the game. He's got 1,000 GPM or XPM right now. Probably close to 1,000 GPM as well. Let's be real. He almost has 30,000 net worth 9 minutes into the game. I mean, it's just insane. They do get a kill, though. They're on Genic. And Prada now has to be very careful as well. But, oh, man, oh, man. And look at him. He's just going in. He does not care.
Husky is going to get 3-shot. Okay. That is unfortunate. Shackle doesn't actually latch for move, but it doesn't matter. The damage is just too high. And oh boy, nouns. I don't really know how they sort of climb their way out of this one. Yamsun is going to be able to find another support kill and TPs himself home, so he's at least getting the occasional pick-off, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be enough at this point. It just feels like all the momentum is in Infinity's hands, and maybe those picks on the supports prevent a high ground push, but it's still going to put nouns in a very defensive position.
I think their best bet at this point is just looking over at Yamsun, hoping he gets this Scotty before not, but also just abusing the confidence that's going to be coming in from Parker when they go for that high ground push. If you can get him to pop BKB on his first life, surround him the second time around, get him in that ice path, even just killing him off the first time and then making sure that there's nobody who can get in there with the Force Staff. It's where Jakiro can certainly show his value in the draft, even though it still feels like Husky hasn't had much to do this game. But that's also where Nouns cannot afford to lose this gem. If they lose it, it's going to be the same story where Parker is just going to kill any hero that tries to leave the lanes. They have to get going and they have to get these traps out of here yesterday.
Genek tries to jump in. His initiation, though, is dodged by the Phantasm, and now the Solar Guardian kind of off the mark as well. But Frank wants it. He's going to push forward. There's the Ravage connecting onto 3. They did not get Yamsun. He is walking away from this engagement, trying to debate, should he go back in? He's not going to, but yeah, now Gunner once again gets left behind. He's able to TP himself out, though, and it's just the 2 supports. That's not bad if you're Nouns. I mean, it sucks for the supports, obviously, but Solar Guardian was used, Ravage was used, and the cores are still standing to potentially defend the base.
No, I couldn't.
And here's the push. One that has started will end pretty quickly. They're giving respect to over. I'm just glad Gunner was able to TP out of bottom. If they lost that gem, that would have been gut-wrenching, but instead, Parker will have to settle for the farm. You know, farm that will always be happy to take, but is still building himself up very quickly, is about to be 6-slotted. Again, has his full, I think, completed Swift Blink. Yeah, in just another 400 gold, in which case the hero gets even more difficult to deal with. But some very important items for Nouns are getting completed. You've got a Solar on Gunner, you've got that Scotty still looking for Yamsun, who will have it as soon as he can get to that secret shop. And toss back maybe for Lelis, looking for product kill again.
Well, they're going to have to get it quick, though, because the reinforcements are coming. Genek is in with the Pulverize. Lelis will be traded. Shackle. Oh, it latched, but that's maybe a bit too far for them to go, even with Parker having the Aegis. So they will back it off, but ET, 70 seconds left on that timer, so if you're Infinity, maybe you do want to take another poke or two at that high ground defense.
Oh, and look. Yamsun. Oh no, he was too quick. Well, those ulti orbs are on deck now. He can't even go to the other shop. They're sitting on his courier for 3 minutes. There's no Scotty.
Yep. Well, to be honest, it does still slow it down. It would have been nice if he could have maybe waited until the full Scotty was picked up and then grabbed it, but that's, I don't know, that timing's a little bit rough. And either way, Yamsun does not have it available, so. Well, now what do? You've got to sit here and wait for 2.5 minutes for the courier to respawn. If you do wait that long, the Aegis is obviously going to be timed out as well. So that might just be the call. Hold the high ground, wait it out. They're not grouped up like they want to wait it out, though. You have a smoke, but just feel like any smoke play here is going to be a little bit too obvious. If Infinity push a creep wave up and nobody's there to defend against it, they're going to be able to guess what's going on, but smoke play will not come. Parker does lose his Aegis, but well, I mean, he's got the Swift Blink. He puts his boots back into the other slot. You're really not missing out on too much here, because he's pretty much as big as he can be.
Yeah. All that he wants now is another Aegis and then maybe a refresher shard for his Tide. That'd probably be what they want over the Ags. But look at that. Tide even just has a BKB. So now there's no possibility for him to get bursted in that Nether Toxin. They're just going further and further into that realm of luxury. and nouns are bottled. Their opponents are playing in 3 lanes at the same time, something that we typically say is illegal, but until nouns find their moment or get set up in one of those side lanes as they are trying to do now, they're just simply taking the bad farm, the farm that's getting shoved into their faces, and items are slowly but surely getting completed. The BKB is finally done on that Viper, but well, for every little bit of farm that you're getting, they're getting 3 lanes on Infinity, they're getting their entire jungle, they're getting half of your jungle. You really only have this outpost area to play in now, and they do squeeze themselves out, but as soon as they're out, tier 3's under attack, and who's here to defend it? Your Viper? He can try, but it's why nouns have seldom left the base until this point, because as soon as they do, well, that's the reason why they're stuck.
And it's just not a great look for them. They don't have too many opportunities, and now Yamsun, he's been spotted. He's got to pop the BKB and try to get home, and now Parker, this is maybe the downside of the refraction instances. You don't have that bash to cancel out the TPs, but hey. That's BKB used, that's Yamsun putting his TP on cooldown. His courier's back up in 5, so he went out there, got his point booster, and fell back. He will have the full Scotty completed. Honestly, that could be a pretty solid difference maker here as Lelis able to use the Ghost Scepter, blinks back. Genic with the BKB charges in, but can't really force an engagement.
Yep, and then immediate smoke up. This is smart from nouns. This is them playing. It's a small advantage, but it is an advantage. One where Genic cannot really be the body for his team, but there's no BKB on Yamsun. So this is a calculated risk here, saying that, okay, we're going to be vulnerable to that Tidehunter Ravage, but we're just looking for picks. We're just looking for something, in the scan ruins pretty much everything. And as soon as those waves start to push in, especially bottom, well, nouns only really have one direction left to go.
At least able to drop down a ward, so they do have some vision as Frank just kind of pushes in. Just trying to make sure that everybody falls back to the base. Nouns are not doing that. Lelis, are you sure? They're going to try it. They get the Ava, they get the toss. Frank pops the BKB though, and this is really not much of a fight, or maybe Yamsun pushing his way in. Can he get the Leo style kill? No, he can't. He's going to get stunned up. Secondary stun coming in. Starbreaker connects. Pulverize going to catch him out. Yamsun already dead. That was just really trying to go a little bit too far there. Moo's going to be able to TP himself back. Gunner makes his escape into the base as well, although they are still trying to chase him. They've got the Gush. Gunner's just going to TP to the fountain. Able to make it away. Husky, meanwhile, pops a buyback. Parker, though, is on the front line. Activates his BKB. Moo has to BKB as well. Tries to turn around for the ult. That does manage to pop the Lincoln, so Gunner can get the roar, but there's just no damage. Parker does not have to care about any of this. He is holding his ground for the time being. The refraction was holding up until now, but it does more than enough. He's able to just walk away, regroup with the team, and even get a couple hits onto the tier 3 top as they back themselves out, or ET, maybe they don't back out at all.
No, they still have a buyback to force and Gunner. Nice ice path, but again, the Meld Dispel, he just takes everything off, just purges himself, and then back onto the buildings. And now we're in that awkward realm where you do not want to buy back. Okay, Leo Style's kind of a madman for that one, but an unpunished one will tank some Viper Strikes. But that's where now Infinity just say, okay, we got our racks, we're going to reset. The trap is going to scout out the Roche, and this is now pretty much last moment to take this next team fight. If they can fight around the pit, they can somehow kill the TA and then punish the fact that Frank doesn't have Ravage, well, that'll be the beginning of the game for them. But if they're unable to make that crazy play happen, well, Parker's going to go into the pit in just a second here, triple meld it, and then Parker's going to get another Aegis, and let's see what the goodies are. Is an Ags, which is, I think, unfortunate for Infinity. Maybe just give the pity Ags to Prada and make your TA even more unkillable, but still, there's just no fear.
Nouns. Not sure if they, I don't think they know that Roche was respawned yet. They didn't really have any means to scout it out. They did have this ward, which should now see Frank walking over. Is that enough of an indicator that it's happening, though? Well, maybe now it is, because he's quite literally just standing in the river for no reason, but by this point it's already way too late. Roche goes down. See who grabs what here. Leo Style will take the Aegis as well as the Aghanim Scepter, and okay. They're set up quite nicely here to try and push in, and your nouns, what what is the game plan? What does a successful team fight at this point look like for them, ET?
It's gotta be simply popping the Lincoln Sphere onto Parker and then hoping that Frank is not playing them. Just don't think that there's any other way. It's just another aspect of having all the lanes and all the time is there's no reason for them to split. And
Back.
with BKB, just a force. Now everybody needs to escape. Still force staff available, but does he make it?
Oh, the Ravage. Eclipse Gunner. The Pulverize is going to catch him out now as well. They need to be able to help him, but... well, he's holding his own for now. They're going to force out the Solar Guardian. The buyback comes through from the Tiny. And that did force Genic to eat the cheese, so... well... that, I'd say that's pretty good if you're Nouns. Yeah, you had to buy back on your Tiny, but... Ravage is down. Pulverize down. BKB used. Cheese eaten, so... quite a lot in terms of the resources expended. And of course, Prada no longer having the Solar Guardian and now no longer having any HP as the Yamsun catches him out. But it still feels like Nouns want more out of this. It's nice to blow some cooldowns, but they need kills, they need gold. They just can't go that far to get it because, yeah, this will happen. Yamsun caught. BKB not popped initially and not going to get popped at all. He's taken down. He has a buyback available, but by the time he buys back, his teammate may already be dead, but Lelis is going to jump in. Hero play. Tosses Moo back to safety. They're going to regroup, but now with the CK dead, or excuse me, not dead, but having bought back, if he dies again, feels like the defense is just not going to be possible.
And should get a kill on a Genic here. This is easy enough. Trickster Cloak making it a little bit close, but I just don't think they're going to be able to put their finger on too many cores, even though on Frank has Kraken Shell, has BKB, and yeah, time to run, and now Yamsun is just getting melted, and you got to get the blankets popping. There's the roar.
Okay. They have the roar, they have the break, they have the ice path. They're going to throw the macro pyre down as well, and they do manage to get through the first... excuse me, that's the wrong hero having the Aegis. They don't have a second life. Well, now they do with the buyback, but will there be anyone left to hit? Gunner's TP'd away. Husky is going to get taken down. But Moo makes it back into the base. Lelis is going to be able to make it back too. So Nouns... well, that is honestly spectacular. More than I thought that they were going to be able to get from sort of reasonable expectation. But BT, they're still in a defensive position, but at least now they've got some items coming in, and they just got the toss back. Now the TA able to hold. Parker turns around. Yamsun's the one to die, and, well... who does the damage now is the question. Gunner and Moo can do a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to win.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Gunner's just getting run at. Parker at level 30 does actually have the Meld Bash talent now, so Gunner gets taken down. He'll buy back. Moo dropping low as well. He dies too. His buyback unavailable, and I think that's just about it. Gunner's the last man standing, and at this point, if they're not going to call GG, they're going to go diving your fountain. They will find the kill, and there's the call. GG thrown, and that is Infinity maintaining that momentum from the group stage, ET. They take the opener in this best of 3.
Yeah, and I'm just waiting to see the numbers there for Parker, but I feel like some records maybe have been won. And not a deathless game, so, you know, and at the end of the game, you know, casual 9k gold swing off of a single hero dying and buying back, but, you know, Parker do what Parker do, and he definitely had control of this game for 30 minutes, and even though, you know, kind of played scared, kind of played like he could lose the game at any moment, which definitely drags it out a little bit longer, but just Infinity never lost the grip on this game, and I still think going all the way back, the Viper pick looked so deafening. It looked like Nouns had them right where they wanted them, and then they stick Moo versus a Wind in the bottom lane, and the draw just ends up not really mattering. In that entire bottom lane, both Moo and Lelis just did not get what they wanted when they drafted Tiny Viper. Just ended up being a massive fail. And let's say for Nouns, you know, this was the Viper experiment. Done. We're never picking Viper again for Moo. We're moving past that. But I think that's also where Nouns should probably learn from their mistake here. And in a very similar fashion to how Beast Coast lost to Thunder Awaken yesterday, might just be time to ban out the TA first phase. It's where strengthen the meta is strengthen the meta, but this is something specific to Infinity that only they do, that they will do every time they get it. I think it's time to change.
Yeah. They got to do something. They got to keep Parker off the Templar Assassin because we do get to see the numbers: 1168 GPM, 1188 XPM, 51,000 hero damage dealt. I mean, that, yeah, that quite literally doubles up any damage dealt by any single person on the nouns side. So maybe don't let Parker play TA. We've been kind of trying to warn teams about it really throughout the entirety of this event, ET, but a performance like this really kind of drives the point home. Force him to play anything else.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and we'll see. Because now nouns have well, not pick, but side. Woohoo! Fingers crossed here.
Well, we'll see what Game 2 has in store, what adjustments nouns make to try and get their fight their way back into this series. So we will be stepping away for a little bit. When we come back, it will be the start of that Game 2 draft. So stick around. We'll be back on the other side of the break.